Alright, shalawam. First off, I want to say all praises to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of GMS, and to the elect doing the work in sincerity and in truth. Shalawam. This is GMS Precepts. This is Nazar Khud here. And real quick, I got a few articles here concerning prophecy. Now, this is concerning the prophecy of there's many prophecy. Well, there's a few prophecy that that we're waiting for that hasn't come to pass yet, and that's a third world's war, right? That's in Revelation they call it the woe, the third woe, right? It says there be two woes and one more hereafter. I believe that's Revelation in the 9th chapter, and that's another sign to watch out for, right? Because we were given signs to know when the Lord is going to return. And one of those major signs, if you read Matthew's the 24th chapter, matter of fact, let me get that. Let me go to it. If you read Matthew's the 24th chapter, now if you so-called wacky tackies that you want to know when the Lord's coming, which you Christians really don't want the Lord to return. You just want the society to continue, right? Despite it being the most wicked and adverse nation ever created, you want to continue in this shit. Why? Because you are not for the Lord, right? If you love the Lord, if you love the Most High, you want to know when He's going to return. Now, if you want to know that, you are to read one of the scriptures you're to read is Matthew's the 24th chapter, and if you read that, it tells you about bad things that have to happen before He comes. Okay. Matter of fact, let me jump down to. Is it the 20? What verse is it? Yeah, here it is. Let me jump down to the 21st verse. Matthew's 24 and 21. It says, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." So the times that are to come when the Lord returns are going to be, they refer to it as great tribulation. Let's go into that word tribulation. Tribulation. It means pressing together, pressure, metaphor, oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, straits. This definition, how it spells straits, it means a position of difficulty, right? It's going to be some very harsh times. So what is this guy Nate? Now he's starting to flip the script now, but this nigga Nate, right, was talking about the time of Jacob's trouble. Well, he was saying that back then that there is no such thing as a time of Jacob's trouble. It's just that we're going to be, Jake is going to be happy go lucky, and then the Lord is going to come, right? But if you read Matthew's the 24th chapter, it says it's going to be great tribulation. Okay, it's going to be some hard times, and we're right at the door. We're at the beginning of those straits. We're at the beginning of that time of great tribulation, and it says such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, right? So it's the beginning. So ever since the world was created, all the way to the time that we're in now, which is the end of days, there's not going to be anything that compares to the great tribulation that's coming. Just think about that and let that sink in, man. That means the times prior to the Lord's return are going to be some very, very scary times. Now, if you go into history and you go to as far as most recent history, as far as slavery, slavery for the so-called Negroes here in America was harsh. Slavery for the so-called, well, also for the natives, right? But specifically the so-called Negroes, right? Slavery for the so-called West Indians down there in the islands was harsh. Actually, the life expectancy in the islands were way shorter than the life expectancy up here in the States. Not saying it was, not saying the slavery up here in the States was easier, right? Because they were both hell. But the stories. Even the conquistadors, what they did to Jake back then, they would tie a mother and they would tie their stories of they would tie a mother's hands to one horse and then tie a mother's leg to another horse. They would allow the two horses to run as fast as they can to the opposite direction and split the baby. I mean, there are some bad. Look, Jake went through some bad times, man. Okay, the time of 70 A.D., the besiege of Jerusalem. That was some very bad times, man. Now, these times prior to the Lord coming are gonna be worse than that. I read that again, Matthew 24 and 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Right. So going back up to the topic, right, is wars and rumors of wars. Verse 6, it says, in Matthew 24 and 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So, right, so it's gonna be some wars. Okay, continue on. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. So it says there shall be a kingdom shall rise against kingdom. Um, Nation shall rise against nation, and that's what you see here in this article. It says U.S. and North Korea fire missiles to sea, matching North's launches. Now, a few days ago, North Korea launched a few missiles. So what did South Korea say? Them being allies with America, they said, "Oh, word, you know, you wanna shoot, you wanna shoot some missiles? Okay, hey yo, U.S., America, come over here, man. These guys are, I'm giving a Jake interpretation. These guys are wilding out, man. Yo, what's up?" So U.S. comes over and they shoot their missiles, right? Because all this is war games, right? You have countries when they have, when they have beef with another country to show off their bravado or to stick out their chest militarily, they conduct what's called war games. They show off their new missiles, okay? And that's and U.S. and allies, and you see, this is I don't mean I'm not going to digress too much, but this is a hypocrisy of America, right? U.S. becomes allies with South Korea, funds them with all type of missiles, military equipment. They put U.S. bases there because they have beef with North Korea, right? So what does U.S. do? It's a strategic move to become friends with your enemies. What's that? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So they strategically became friends with North Korea, then which is neighboring. I'm sorry, they strategically become friends with South Korea, which is neighboring North Korea, right? So that's the same thing they were trying to do with Ukraine. NATO, those European nations, they tried to get them into NATO, right? Which Ukraine is neighboring Russia. So it was a strategic move. But anyway, let's read a couple of this lines here. It says the U.S. and South Korean militaries launched 8 ballistic missiles into the sea Monday in a show of force, matching a North Korea display a day earlier. Oh, a day earlier, you see, that extended a provocative streak in weapons demonstrations. The Allies' live fire exercise involved 8 Army tactical missile systems, or system missiles, 1 American and 7 South Korean, that they fired into the seas, into South Korea's eastern waters across 10 minutes, following notifications of air maritime, blah, 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 blah. So there you go. So North Korea and America, they're conducting, and this is happening throughout all the world. But what scripture is that? Matter of fact, let me get that. That's Joel, the 3rd chapter, right? It says, Joel 3 and 10, it says, Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say what? Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's what's happening here. You have these weaker nations. They're obtaining nuclear capability, right? Like North Korea, they didn't have their military wasn't as strong as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. They were once considered a little nation, but now you have all these nations all across the globe that are spending all of their GDP into their military. They're building up their military, and that's prophecy. Joel 3 and 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, right? Next article, China secretly building PLA naval facility in Cambodia, Western officials say. So this is nothing but more expansion of the Chinese military, right? Where is it? It says, Western officials believe China is establishing a military presence in Cambodia's Reem naval base, which is located off the Gulf of Thailand, which is right here. Right, so that's just them trying to expand themselves militarily, which China has the biggest army. Okay, the establishment of a Chinese naval base in Cambodia, only its second such overseas outpost, and its first in the strategically significant Indo-Pacific region, as part of Beijing's strategy to build a network of military facilities around the world in support of its aspirations to become the true global power. Right, but little do they know, little do all these nations know, the next true global power is going to be the army of Israel, okay, under the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Yahawashi, okay. Little do they know, right? What's the next one here? Putin. This is from the Washington Post. Putin threatens to hit new targets if long-range missiles are sent to Ukraine. So what U.S. is doing, they're conducting in what's called damn, it's just what's it called? Proxy wars. Slakia. I had a little brain fart. Proxy wars, right? America, what they do is, or all nations do this. America is doing it right now. Instead of them getting their so-called hands dirty and going in there, they just send military aid, military weapons, people to train a certain country's military to fight against a nation that they don't particularly like, and that's what's going on here. But guess what? Putin said, okay, if you send long range missiles over there, okay, we gonna hit some targets, man. All right. Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened a wider campaign of bombing and shelling Sunday should the United States send longer range missiles to Ukraine. At the same time, dismissing the advanced shorter range missiles Biden has already promised, blah, blah, blah. So, what else we got up in here? This is all wars and rumors of wars. What's this? Putin. This is from, I think this is from a few days ago because I heard, yeah, this is from May 31st. Putin's favorite TV pundits boast that Russia could destroy the U.S. East Coast with just 2 nuclear missiles and ran about killing 2 million Ukrainians to defy Nazi, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, they got those. What is it? The Satan 2, I believe. Sad. Let me see here. Yeah, Sarmat 2 said entire U.S. coast could be wiped out with just 2 Sarmat 2 missiles, with another 2 needed to destroy the West Coast. Right. So there you go, man. But guess what? They're gonna use a lot more than just 2 missiles. Okay. According to prophecy, it's gonna be 200 million missiles that are going to be shot over here, not only from Russia, but from its allies over here in Europe, man. Okay, so these are the things that we look for. These are the things, starting with our apostles on down, the apostles GMS on down, that we've been speaking about, that we've been prophesying about. But you know, you had a lot of other people who are quiet right now call us crazy, we're conspiracy theorists, you know, the MOTBs around the corner. Nobody's really, you know, it's so obvious now, you can't negate it. But what they're going to do, they're going to act like they knew it all along. You see? All right, so that's pretty much it. That's all the articles. Lord willing, I'll leave all these articles in the description box. Lord willing, you brothers and sisters were edified. Until the next show, shalom.